Hey again, welcome back to another one of these review type videos. I was searching for a game to play over winter break, and luckily I found a great one. That game was called Spiritfarer, and now that I finished it and I'm fresh off the experience, I think it's the perfect game to come back to review. So about a week ago, thanks to my awesome brother, I got an early Christmas present called Spiritfarer, a game where you play as Stella, a fairy master for the wandering souls of the dead. Your job is to guide these souls to accepting their deaths and moving them on to the Everdoor, their final resting place. Now this might sound like one of those games that try to be over dramatic and deep. Playing it is actually quite cheerful and gratifying. Everything in Spiritfarer has this kind of calming and peaceful sense to it. Beautiful sunsets and sunrises complemented my journey so well. Everything was so mesmerizingly pretty, it even made me forget how trash my boat looked. I mean seriously, every time I tried to organize my boat, literally everything that could have went wrong. But at least, no matter how dog doo-doo my boat looked, the character animations were there to comfort me. The art/animation team killed it with the designs of the spirits. Every single one of them has a different sort of like aura. You have Gwen, the sassy but strong-willed deer, smoking whatever this thing is, with half-closed eyes looking like she's about to doze off anytime soon. You have Atul, the lovable frog uncle that works hard and eats harder. You have Pikachu and Ferdinand. It's pretty cozy, being able to look at the sky as you fish as well as talk to, feed, and hug your passengers. I could just listen for hours on end to the calming lull of the seas below, paired with the sunset in the distance, all backed by an incredible soundtrack. I love the atmosphere of Spiritfarer, and I had such a pleasant time in it. Speaking of the soundtrack, all you need to know about it is that I was listening to the soundtrack while writing this. Just like the visuals it gives the gift of sound to, the OST composed by Max LL will put you at ease. It's very reminiscent of Breath of the Wild soundtrack, especially the Field Day track. But soundtrack isn't just judged on how effectively it brings the surrounding areas to life. It's also praised, or not, for how well it can express different characters through music. And thankfully, the characters in Spiritfarer are represented incredibly well through each of their own unique themes. For example, one of the spirits, Stanley, is the purest form of childlike wonder you will ever come across. For his theme, the composer Max LO backed him up with a bright and sunny piccolo flute, a simple but surprisingly effective choice. Spiritfarer's soundtrack is able to effectively convey emotion through sound. I feel like it's one of those soundtracks that at first you don't notice, but when you single out a certain tune from the in-game world, you start to appreciate how much it adds to the experience. But the gameplay though, it kinda sucks. Well actually, probably shouldn't say that since the development team probably worked really hard on it. And everything functions as it should, so I guess there's that. But it just gets pretty tedious after the 100th time you do something, you know. I remember just spamming dash just to go from one walking distance place to another as fast as I could. It's like when you play a certain game multiple times and you start to try and speedrun things to make it more interesting. But obviously that's not the game making it interesting, that's you doing that. Spiritfarer kind of fumbles in this area, but at least it's not like the worst thing I've ever seen in my life. Okay, now we're getting into the good stuff. This, without a doubt, is the best part of the game. So when your passengers/spirits are finally ready to go to the Everdoor, you get to spend one last moment with them. And in these moments, they get to come to terms with everything bad in their lives, and you're sitting there helping them to do so. I remember it being so relieving seeing them be able to find peace in their pretty tragic lives. Remember the spirit I mentioned earlier, Stanley? Remember how I said he was a child? That means he died as a child, not to mention how terrible of a life he had. He was constantly bullied and had an aggressive mother. He calls an egg a fucking hatch because of the time where his mom said don't touch that fucking hatch. But despite all of this, at the end he's able to find peace and realize something that many people forget about. And it's that these so-called bad people, like his bullies and his abusive mom, aren't really bad people. They just do bad things sometimes. He's able to do this because of two things. First, his father, who had always been supportive of him. And second, you, the players playing as Stella and helping Stanley to the end in his final moments. When I was playing this, it really felt like I helped the spirit, and even more so, it felt like the spirit actually helped me in return. And Spiritfarer continues to do this with each spirit by first slowly giving you a picture of each of the souls' lives, and then helping you guide them to having a satisfying end to their lives. It sounds repetitive, but I promise you, it's actually the opposite. Every spirit has their own unique personality and problems. Each has their own journey, many of which can be quite relatable, especially in times like these. But you might be wondering, and I certainly was wondering this, what was the point of all this? What lesson is there to be learned from this game? Looking back, it's sort of unclear on the actual theme/message, especially with all of the mini Word of the Wise moments in this game. But me personally, I think it has to do with the legacy you leave behind after you die. When you help these spirits to the Everdoor, you have to realize that these spirits are leaving the world behind forever. After they pass through that gate, there's no more, there's nothing they can do, and nothing they can leave behind, at least from what we can see. So you can imagine the crazy amount of courage needed to say, hey, I think I'm ready to go through the Everdoor, because those words basically mean that you are content with leaving your impact on the world as it is. And at the end, Stella herself goes to the Everdoor, leaving behind a legacy of kindness and care. And as you play as Stella, making that final boat ride to that arch you've seen several times in your journey, you, not Stella, but you the player, have to be content with what you've done in this foreign world. You have the choice to leave the world as it is right now, or you can continue your life. In case it's not clear, Stella is supposed to be you in the real world on Earth in the middle of the Milky Way galaxy. If you cook a terrible meal in the game, Stella also cooks a terrible meal. If you hug a spirit, Stella hugs that spirit too. And if you leave the world behind with a legacy of caring for wandering spirits and helping them come to terms with their death, then Stella will have that legacy too. To wrap up, Spiritfarer teaches that what you leave behind in this world, that's pretty much all up to you. You might leave behind something as monumental as the cure to cancer, or you might leave behind a small delicate flower that you planted in your backyard for it to grow. You might leave behind something as everlasting as a whole familial generation, or you might leave behind a good moment with a fellow person you sat with on a bench. Temporary, but still good. Whatever you choose to do, you just have to be content with what you leave behind for this world. The things said in this game are things to be remembered throughout your whole life, and I mean that from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for watching, and whenever you are watching this, I hope you're having the best of days, and happy early New Year!
Together